Thank you. I think there's a lot of stuff that people have already talked about. So I'm just going to tell you about a different kind of model, perhaps from a different perspective, more from the perspective of parent groups and survivors, and what we have done in India, but also there will be other people in the audience who are and have set up similar survivor groups in their countries, and there are so many similarities in all of this. Just for a minute, I run Can Kids in India, and we work across the country in about 44 cancer centers, addressing all aspects of childhood cancer care and working closely with the doctors and the psychologists and the nurses. And so I must compliment you on this session because we've really pulled together everybody really, the parents, the survivors, the doctors, the psychologists, everyone who's concerned in the matter of survivorship. So I'm not going to repeat some of the stuff that we've already been through, but essentially, yes, I mean, children, once they're well, they expect to be elated, and often they're depressed, exhausted, and even angry. And look at the kind of issues that they're faced with, not just psychological, but late effects. We've had Dr. Hudson talk about a series of late effects, which sometimes look scary. And then the psychological impact, and Martha talked about that. And then there are many, many, many issues that the children and the survivors could themselves be talking about. And so when we look at all of this, we see that their reactions and that the support that they need, and again, much of this has already been discussed and talked about, but the support is physical and physiological both, practical and lifestyle related, emotional and psychological as well. So here is a model for survivor engagement and empowerment. It involves the survivor as an active participant. Dr. Purna also mentioned this in some way when we talked about developing a survivorship care plan, but we would like to turn it on its head, put the survivors as a group right in the middle, and say what is it that we can do so that we reframe their cancer experience. And so this model works on, firstly, building peer support and reintegrating our survivors back into society, providing them the relevant psychological support, assisting them to be responsible for their own health and to deal with the late side effects that they're going to have to deal with in the coming years. And then finally, also empowering them to be advocates and ambassadors for the cause. And when you take this whole thing together, actually it can be very impactful. And every one of us who's sitting here in this audience, I think really, really gets involved in this model, is a complete stakeholder in this model. So our group in India is called Kids Can Connect, and it's a group of survivors. The slide is by them. This is their group. I'm making the presentation, in fact, on behalf of the survivor groups. And we enroll the survivors at the age of 13 into what we call Kids Can Connect, because that is the age by which they then start becoming focused and they are interested in wanting to know more about what happened to them, and they're wanting to get to know each other. And they go from being members to active members to leaders and to mentors, and that's the cycle of how we grow survivors. So the first one, building up peer support. And what they've done is, and I know that this applies to other survivor groups as well, including Survivors in Asia, and we have them on Facebook, we have them on WhatsApp, they're on top of Google, because that's what young people like to do. And that's how the group works. But with every group, we have a treating doctor on WhatsApp with them. We have the psychologist, we have the mentors, but we stay in the background, let them chitter-chatter all day long with their good mornings, good evenings, whatever fun they're having. The group runs pan-India. We also now run a group Asia-wide and another group that we're trying to build worldwide so they can talk to each other, also address their concerns and their issues. In developing countries particularly, and I'm sure perhaps it applies to the developed countries as well, reintegrating them back into society is important, making sure that they actually get involved. And what we've done in India is, in fact, one of our survivors, that's Kapil Chawla there, he suggested we set up a Survivor Helping Survivor Fund. And that is empowering for them as well. They help each other, but we also give them higher education or assistance for higher education to reintegrate them back into society. And once they start working, they're encouraged to become, to donate to this as well. We give them internship opportunities and have set up an employment program for them so that they can actually truly powerfully reintegrate back into society. And then we're building a fellowship program. So within our own organization, we give them internship and employment opportunities. We try and place them more and more. That takes care of what I showed you all the way on the left side, which is their concerns about, will I get a job? Will I have other things that I can take care of? On the psychological support, we run one-on-one clinics, and we run sharing and caring sessions for the survivors. We have a grief therapy session on the loss of a member, because you talked about it and it can be scary, but when you're in a group, and any psychologist would look at this, group therapy becomes important to help them move on and carry forward. And we especially do sharing caring sessions for the parents, because a lot of the survivors have a lot of issues with their parents as well. And then we teach them to take care of their own health and to cope with the late side effects. And this fertility project that we did, actually the survivors lead the project. They take ownership of the project, and you'll see on that picture there, 2 of them, and they work with the fertility specialists, the pediatric oncologists, the psychologists. They lead their own project, they own the project, and they're the ones who've created the information leaflet for other survivors. So again, it's not just empowerment, but it's also teaching them. It's also how they teach each other and how we disseminate the information for them to know that they need to make the healthy lifestyle choices that you spoke about. We encourage them to be ambassadors and advocates, and that works 2 ways, because they're speaking for the cause, they're doing awareness campaigns, they're doing fundraising activities, they work on overcoming bias and stigma. They themselves are the biggest symbols of childhood cancer is curable, and that makes a big difference. They are encouraged to go meet celebrities and sports stars. They're the voice, they're the most powerful voice of childhood cancer. And simultaneously, it gives and raises their own self-esteem as well, as they feel that they are actually contributing to a cause and that they have had the opportunity to have a good, strong life. So these are some of the examples of the things that they're able to do. These are my survivors, some of them who are today leading a countrywide advocacy campaign. But I also want to talk to you about the survivors of Asia. I want to tell you that this is an interventional model which actually addresses all the aspects that we've talked about. And I would like to encourage that everybody here from different hospitals, from different countries, consider setting up survivor groups in a similar way. And you can do this with your parent organizations. You can actually do it with Childhood Cancer International, where we help to set up the survivor groups, because it actually works as a really good interventional model for support. It tells us what it is that we can do for our survivors. We have survivor groups in India, as you saw, Dr. Kurkure Zugam, Kids Can Connect. We have survivor groups in Asia. I may not have all up there on the slide, but please let me know so we can add to those. And I want to honor the survivors of Asia. They've been here, they were in Jordan, in Cape Town, in Indonesia. They're sitting out there in the front row. I'd like them to stand up so we can all give them a big round of applause and tell them we honor you, and we really, really, all of us want to work together with you. Thank you.
So you're done? Thank you, Poonam. Very good, you saved us 1 minute.